Hello and welcome back to Automotive Tales. In today's episode, as you can probably tell, we are back in the Bentley. So I am going back to Starman's to see if we can figure out what this brake squeal is. So it's not got better after I've bedded the brakes in. We've done some 260-ish miles now, and it's still squealing when the brakes are warm. So a little bit of work to do still. So we're going to see if we can figure out what's going on. It might be that one of those new calipers has been sat on the shelf for a long time and is seized. Possibly the solution to that is stamping on the brakes really hard, but that's not what I want to do when I've got brand new brakes. So let's go see what Dwayne can find, and it's an opportunity to have a look around his amazing workshop. So follow me on my little adventure with the Bentley Turbo R, and let's see if we can actually finally get this thing running and working properly. So here we are, we've made it to Starman's Rolls-Royce and Bentley Specialist. So we're going to have a look at 11CSM, see if we can work out what this squeal is. Definitely hear it once the brakes are warm. As we pulled in, it made its lovely signature. It's less of a squeal, more of like a yawn. It's a really strange noise. And we did get an hydraulic suspension message, but apparently the roundabouts through Nottingham are enough for it to go. What's going on? It thinks we're doing some sort of handling test with it. So yeah, that's been off and on and gone away now. So yeah, just have a look at this brake issue, and then we're also going to have to price up. I don't know if I mentioned in the previous video, but the aircon has stopped working. We had the aircon gassed and we tried to go to Le Mans a couple of years ago in it, and since then it's basically sat in storage and the aircon's packed in again. So it's obviously leaking from somewhere, so that needs looking at. And if we're having the aircon all done, then we should probably change the radiator as well. So there's a recommended upgrade for these to an aluminium radiator rather than the steel one that's in here, which is supposed to be much better for longevity and for cooling. So we might be booking it in for that as well. Ugh, it's a never-ending job with this car. So in the previous video, we talked about what we had done in each of these corners. So while Kyle has actually got the wheel off to have a look at these brakes, Starman's is a family affair run by father and son duo Dwayne and Kyle. It's handy for me to show you what we've done, so you can see the nice shiny new springs in here, and you can see the little units on the dampers. So despite it's been a 30-year-old car, it's got this little control unit on the damper here, which has then got a separate wiring loom, which then runs up here. It's nice little cable tied out of the way. And then we had two new calipers. So you can see the front of this car has two twin pot calipers, one pot at the front, one at the back on each side, because the discs could only be a certain size. It couldn't be great big things like you see on modern cars. So the solution was make a really thick section disc and put two calipers on it. What a thing. So I just thought I'd take the chance to show you. This is the engine that's in the Turbo. Well, not the engine, it's still in the car, but this is the engine from a Turbo R. So you can see the size of it. But the most important thing, look at the size of that turbo. Isn't that an absolute beast? Just the one for the V8, but it's more than enough. Size of a dustbin lid. But yeah, that's what powers the Turbo R. And just like that, we are back in the car. So Kyle at Starman's has had the pads out, given them a bit of a file, put some copper grease on them, checked everything is A-OK. And we've run the car up the road and it is silent. So it was simply a case of the pads were actually properly vibrating. I was concerned it might be a caliper that was a bit sticky, but it all seems to be fine. Either that or them winding the calipers back has unstuck whatever was there. And now it's nice and quiet and smooth, and even the brake pedal feels slightly better. So I could obviously feel a bit of vibration of the pad through the pedal. So hopefully that will see us proud for certainly a good few miles. And then we'll bring it back in spring. We're going to do the aircon, the radiator, and a few of the bits and pieces. They actually recommended a headlight upgrade, because the headlights are like small candles on this thing, which we'll probably do next time, because they're also a lot cheaper to replace if you break a headlight, whereas the ones that are currently in here are about 150 pounds each, and there's 4 of them. Yes, we'll be able to do that slight upgrade, keep the original ones for if I ever decide to put those back in. Right, time for me to head home and actually go and do some work for a change. Right, here goes. Previously on Automotive Tales. So I should probably explain the plan. So the plan is the 944 is going outside so I can give it a darn good clean because hopefully a friend of ours at High Octane Diet is going to take this off our hands. He's really, really good with the little sparky stick, so he can weld up the sills on this for not an awful lot of money and have himself a cheap little sports car. So as you can just about make out, the 944 is outside and Dr. Nuff is busy tinkering on the engine. So I had said this car is going for sale. It is going for sale. We've just backed it out off the ramps, only to realise we could probably do with it back on the ramps. But the reason I'm not bringing it in and putting it back on the ramps is what was an intermittent fuel leak has now become a very permanent fuel leak. It looks like one of the hard lines has got a pinhole in it, and it is pouring fuel out. In literally the couple of seconds it took to get it started and reverse it out to there, we lost about half a litre of fuel, which is super, super dangerous. So we're going to see if we can get the hard lines off, go and see if we can get some fresh ones made up at Pertec. There's one down in Leicester, I think Colville, before the car goes for sale, because I want it to be movable. Whoever buys it will want to drive it onto a trailer. If you're going to be doing welding, what you also don't want is fuel leaking everywhere. So we're going to try and fix that one thing and then punting it off to auction for somebody to deal with all the rust. So yeah, we're kind of now stuck because I can't really move it much from here. So we're going to see if we can get those lines off. And then the next job is to get the Clio out from here into here and on the ramps, because when I put the exhaust back on, which is now on, it's nice and quiet, I didn't have an exhaust gasket that fit to go from the cat to the rest of the system. So while it doesn't actually blow at the moment, I want to separate it back out and put the proper gasket on now I've got it. So that's the next job. And then when that's done, it goes back in here all finished, ready to go for service, cam belt, various other bits and pieces, and an MOT. The lifts are then free because I've got an Hyundai i10 to service. As you do, we're going to do brakes on Dr. Nuff's Kia, and then, God knows what, there's so many things. Oh yes, the van. I need to talk about the van. The van. So I need to sit inside here because it's super, super windy all of a sudden today, and that makes filming outside an absolute nightmare. So I am sitting in a Transit Tornio Connect Tornio, whatever you should call it. Basically, it's a small, almost Fiesta-derived little van with windows. It does have some seats. There are some seats behind the spare wheels there that did belong to my brother. He's moved away for a while, and rather than sell it on the open market, he offered it to me and my brother-in-law to use as a runaround. So I've now got another project I didn't really need, but we're going to do some things with this to make it actually quite useful. So you'll be aware in previous videos I've been using, where is he? Just here, the Land Rover a lot for doing tip runs, because you can probably see our garden is a little bit overgrown. And things are not looking great with the Land Rover. There's some very interesting sounds coming from the transfer box. So I think that needs a bit of work, and I think the torque converter's about had it, because I'm really struggling with hills and it's slowing right down, even at the same revs. So there's obviously a lot more slip in the torque converter than there should be. Basically, flat out is now more about sort of 45 rather than 60 odd I've had in the past, which is not good. So we're going to put a tow bar on this, and this is going to be useful for doing tip runs because we've got a permit for the trailer, and this doesn't count as a commercial vehicle because it's got windows in it, which is pretty cool. My brother-in-law is going to use it for going on holiday with his dogs. He's got 3 big dogs, so this is perfect for 3 big dogs. So, you know, just what I needed, another project in amongst trying to get rid of the 944 and trying to get rid of the Rolls-Royce and the Bentley costing us a fortune. But talk about extremes, from a Bentley Turbo R to a slightly scruffy Transit Connect. And when I say scruffy, it's not mouldy, but it does look like it's been chewed by a dog at some point in its life. What a thing. Rightio, so you can see we're in the wheel arch. Getting this liner out is an absolute so-and-so. You can see some of the new brake lines, but these are the things we're interested in. So the hard lines come out the tops of here, so we've just disconnected and take them out. And then they run all the way down. Here's rubber, and they go back into hard lines. Looks like these were on last time the bodywork was done because they're all painted, so we'll probably replace these flexi lines as well. We were hoping if we disconnect it down here, we had to pull it all the way through, but as you can see, it's tied and it's clipped in various places all the way up here. So that's going to be a bit of a fiddly job, but it should be fairly easy. Right here, and that right there is the offending article. Well, actually, technically this one, which is the return line, is the offending article. So you can see corrosion on the bend here, and I think it's about where you see the light mark there. There was a pinhole in it, and it was just pouring fuel out. So hopefully we can get some fresh ones of those. So this one's on a compression fitting. This one's actually just a push fit with a Jubilee clip, but it has got a proper fitting here down to a hard line. So if we can get those replaced, then at least we can drive the car around without risk of like massive amounts of flamey fire. So we have a solution. We've got some barbed fittings, we've got some nice new hose, and we've put on the original covers for the hose that protect them from rubbing, because you can see they rub on lots of stuff, and then they go back down that hole into the wheel arch. So again, more barbed fittings to basically replace the hard lines that were here. We actually did a bit of looking at this, and I think the hard lines originally came all the way up here and they've just been cut, and these flexes have been put in the past. So short of replacing everything, we just want to get this car safe and running. We've basically put another connector there, and then we're back into the original lines, which were all fuel tight at the time. And somebody in future might want to run completely new lines, but at least for now, that stopped it leaking. So time to test it before we put the arch liner in, because the arch liner in these are an absolute pain in the proverbial. Next time on Automotive Tales, we might actually get round to cleaning that Porsche. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. And down. Ooh, that's tight as duck's ass. And straight at that. Oh, a bit more, a bit more, a bit more. Yeah, ignore it, a bit more. Yeah, that'll do. Drop it in neutral.